I wish I could be with you today at your annual meeting in Fort Worth. I know you'll have a great gathering and no doubt wonderful speakers and people that'll do a great job informing you about the industry. You've got such a good, loyal group there. They've always been in the forefront. The leadership has been tremendous. I remember everybody that stepped up. You know, when the need was there, back in 1998, 1999, when their industry was under threat from Venezuela, the oil was being dumped in the country below their cost of production, and their intent was to put high-cost stripper producers out of business. Yet we took them on. We took them on with your help, Larry Halsey, Alex Mill, Phil Stevens. Your group was the first one that stood up and helped us with Save Domestic Oil. They were also there to walk the halls with us as we sought to lift the 40-year-old ban on exports of crude oil. Now you think about where we'd be today without that. You know, we couldn't do our business. Our industry couldn't exist today. So you've always been at the forefront helping. You was there, one of the first associations that joined DEPA, and it had just been tremendous. So I wish I was there with you. I can't be in two places at once. So have a good annual meeting, and I'll be thinking about you. Thanks a lot. Someone had to tell the story. It's so great what's happened. You know, this complete transformation of our industry. Someone had to tell that story, and nobody told it. I didn't want to do it. I'm not a writer. As you can tell from the book, it turned out to be pretty readable, however. I'm really glad for that. It's hard to get something that's so technical that people can read, but this turned out to be readable. But someone had to tell the story of how it happened, the holistic story of how it began and where we're at today. The game changer is one thing, that's horizontal drilling. That one single thing allowed us to create the energy renaissance in America. And it wasn't fracture stimulation, it wasn't fracking, as some people try to call it and disparage us, but it was horizontal drilling. It gave us access, first of all, to the tight reservoirs, the reservoirs that didn't have enough porosity and permeability in the matrix of the rock, yet probably saturated with oil and gas. But by drilling them horizontally, and creating a lot of wellbore exposure, we could produce those. So it gave us access to those reservoirs. It also gave us access to the shales themselves. And through that access, you know, we've kicked off the shale revolution, as some people call it, for both oil and gas in the United States. And as a result, give you kind of the numbers on the extent of the game, from terminal decline that we were in prior to horizontal drilling, and we were less than 5 million barrels a day. For instance, we've basically almost tripled that production, got up to about 13.1 million barrels a day, and 4 times the amount of natural gas. So, and in addition to that, we established a long runway of reserves for the future. So it entirely changed the game in America, and also gave us energy independence in this country, and we're able to have plenty of supplies for the U.S., as well as supplying much of their allies' needs with LNG and crude oil. It actually drives the economy. It adds a tremendous amount of jobs, plus economic growth to the economy. So for the future, it's expanding on that. I mean, you look at natural gas supplies. As a geologist, I think for sure we've got over a 100-year supply, perhaps 200 years. A lot of people say 200, and I'm probably close to that camp as well. And looking forward through 2050, I see supplying our needs here in America for sure with oil, and from basically the shale production that we've generated and new supplies that we'll also bring on. So it's it is a game changer in those measures as well. It's fun to prove those experts wrong that predicted after every boom, that there would be a bust and we'd run out of supplies. That started in Titusville, basically back as far as 1859. Everybody predicting how soon we'd be out of oil. And so they've been predicting that all the way along. And certainly everybody remembers what we call the peakers, those that felt like we'd reached the peak and would be in terminal decline from then on. A lot of books written about that, but some of us just we didn't believe that. So we kept trying to do the hard thing, and that was to create another entire technology, if you will. And it wasn't a lot of people that was in our camp when this first started. A few people that thought, horizontal drilling and could amount to a great deal, and took that on. I believe the book does have a chance to change some of their hearts and minds. I set out a chapter here basically talking about all the benefits of oil in our lives, from the very clothes we wear to the plastics that make everything better, lighter, easier to use, more efficient. There's if you look back for instance, in 2020, when everything was shut down, airlines, you name it, there for a couple weeks during that pandemic, everything shut down. Yet we were still using 80 million barrels a day. When basically devoid of transportation, you're still using 80 million barrels a day in the world. So I think that our daily lives, everything we touch, we have a tremendous amount of needs, for petrochemicals and everything that is derived from oil and gas production. Obviously our business linked to politics. We've seen the disaster of the Biden-Harris administration and their failed policies on energy. It drove inflation up as prices rose because they took federal land, federal leasing off the table. And that harmed all Americans. It harmed oil and gas, first of all, but it also harmed all Americans as well. So it is a failed policy. A lot of their policy has failed. We see some things that grew out of it, like ESG, has become toxic. A lot of the green movement that people committing to net zero by 2050, all those people that jumped on, basically that just meant one thing, and that was that those CEOs that did that, first of all, they're going to be retired before 2050. So they're not going to be around to answer to that commitment. But I believe that too will become just as toxic as all those companies that aspired to entirely drive extreme positions in their company, that basically they've seen those become unprofitable. Shareholders want to make a profit. People buying stock, they want to see that stock go up. Their stock has gone down. So you see those companies like BP, Shell, all those large companies that did that quickly, aspiring to net zero by 2050 and making all those strong commitments. We see those companies actually going down in value and retrenching and announcing that they're backing away from those policies. So we are connected to politics, and we've seen bad policy on both sides. I don't care if it's Richard Nixon when he put oil under price controls, when it went from $3.75 to $4, and that was a failed policy. We know how bad that turned out for him and for the country. We also saw Jimmy Carter with the Fuel Use Act of 1977, mandate 100% use of coal in power generation. And we know how bad that turned out with acid rain and all that. Joe Biden, incidentally, was a 2-year senator from Delaware that helped him craft that legislation. Now think about how silly that is. So we see some of these extreme policies fail and fail badly, and that's what we're dealing with Joe Biden. It's almost as bad as his failed border policies. So there's just a lot of them, and we just have to endure what we have, what we're dealing with until he's gone. There's such a need for it. It's a great need, and hopefully we'll see that someday. So we need to raise everybody's knowledge of the importance of it, what it means for America, what it means for our society, what it means for peace in the world. We have a fight going on in this country on energy. Everybody's fighting for our market share. They're fighting against our industry on every front nearly. So we have that going on in the country. But in the world today, we absolutely have a global war on energy today. And we've seen that with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the resulting cutoff to Europe. So that's what's going on in the world today. And it's all about energy. The biggest problem was what not to include. A lot of things happen in your career. Various things. So narrowing that down to the important stuff. This wasn't meant to be a me book. It wasn't meant to be a Harold Hamm book. It was meant to tell about what and how holistically we had the industry, we had managed to create a world-changing event. And that was the energy renaissance over a very short time. We're talking to less than 3 decades. A very short time that completely changed everything. And I'm talking about from the natural gas business, for instance. We had people that was gearing up, creating facilities to import natural gas. And today we're exporting close to 15 BCF a day that's taking care of our allies in Europe after the Russian invasion of Ukraine and subsequent cutoff of natural gas to Europe, that they weaponized trying to get Europe to do their bidding. So it went from an import situation for natural gas to exporting 15 BCF, and also I think that's the next real wave. The next coming thing is the export of clean burning natural gas around the world. That'll probably be the biggest game changer in fighting climate change of anything that's been done so far to date. Access to energy makes everything run. It's if you don't have a good access to energy, we know a lot of countries don't. Almost 3 billion people live in energy poverty today. They don't have a chance really. And you can't throw money at it and get it done. A lot of them don't have electrical infrastructure. They don't have modern infrastructure, so it'll take time. But just having the availability of having propane to cook their food, that gets them started. So anyway, I grew up. I remember REA bringing the poles over the hill to bring less electricity to our home, where we didn't have lanterns at night. We could kerosene lamps. We could have light. So it makes a heck of a difference, and so all those people want that, and so we're going to see demand grow. Through 2050, in my estimation, as those people gain a little bit of what we have today. I dedicated this book to all the workers, those roughnecks, drillers, tool pushers, everybody in the field, those companies that helped us get near-bit technology to make horizontal drilling possible. My hat's off to all of those people with ingenuity that it took to create this. And so I can't say enough about it. This thing wasn't created in a boardroom somewhere. This was created out there in the field. People on the brake handle, the drilling contractors that was drilling highly directional wells underneath cities and everything that led to horizontal drilling. So my hat's off to them, the million workers out there that made this happen. This book's been so far a bestseller. We put it in the hands of a lot of people. We put it in the hands of a lot of students. Every school in Oklahoma has a book, and a lot of students in Oklahoma have books. And I think that hopefully it will inspire another young man to do world-changing things. And it's possible as they read this book. When I was a kid, I read everything I could get my hands on. I still do a lot of reading. So I think that it may help some young man realize his career, his dream, and also in our industry, a lot of people would like to make it look like oil and gas is over. Basically, we're being canceled out. I don't believe that for a minute, and I hope you don't either. And we'll see a lot of people read this book and say, "Wow, that's what I want to do also." In high school, most people aren't that fortunate to find something that they're tremendously passionate about, that they realize that's what they want to do, that perhaps They're created to do that. I think for sure it has been in my destiny, and I've been very glad to live that out and enjoy a career that has to do with what I love to do every day. So I don't work. I have fun and find oil and gas and enjoy all the people that do the same thing I do. I close my book with this. You too can become a game changer through opportunity, hard work, passion, and persistence, mixed in with destiny. This has been my dance. As I said in my commencement address to the graduating class at Lexington High, make sure you don't miss your dance.